Alright, I am back with another Destiny 2 video, the one I was going to do yesterday, until Bungie decided to triple the size of its studio and announce that, so there was way too much to talk about there, so I had to dive into that. Today, I want to go back to what I was going to talk about, which is my thoughts on Caiatl, who the longer the season goes, the more I'm kind of growing to like her. It's not very often that we see sort of enemy characters introduced in Destiny that are terribly well fleshed out or interesting. They're in the past, we've kind of just got giant evil creature things that are, trying to destroy us or just seize total power and things like that. And some of those, you can get more into the lore in terms of their actual motivations. And like Oryx is obviously, much more dimensional than he appeared in just the raid once you go through his entire story. But lately, I think Bungie has been doing a better job kind of contextualizing its villains. I think it did a good job of this with Aramis. While we're not supposed to really like Aramis, I think the point of Beyond Light is that we at least understand her motivations, and we get like how badly the Traveler just screwed over the Elixni. I'm not going to say Helsinki this time. Elixni. When it left, and there was the big Fallen Whirlwinds collapse type thing, and now they've attracted the attention of the Darkness, and obviously they're going to want to work with the giant paracausal entity that wants to actually give them powers instead of take them away and leave them in ruins. So you could understand where Aramis was coming from, even if she was still just kind of evil and bad. Caiatl is a different story in that she seems to be. I don't think she's evil and bad necessarily, other than the whole Cabal are just warmongers and destroying lots of things. She's much more dimensional than that from what we're kind of getting with the fleshed out components that we've seen from her story. I think the game did a disservice to her with the introduction cutscene with Zavala, because it was just so kind of flat and one dimensional, where she's just like, hey, we have these common enemies. Let's team up, but you have to bow to me. And Zavala just says no. Obviously he's going to say no, but the game has since kind of explored her a little more, especially this week. There was a conversation between her and Osiris that happens at the war table, which you kind of have to see as you go through the storylines. Osiris calls her a Cabal who's willing to show mercy, which is a new concept, and she calls him wise. So they have a bit of a rapport going on, but what I really wanted to focus on was this kind of voicemail that she leaves for Zavala in the terminal next to the war table, not the war table, the umbral table, that you could miss because it's not always flashing or anything. And I think it was time gated to this week. There was one with Amanda Holliday, and then there's one with Caiatl talking. And if you have missed that, I actually recorded it, so I'm just going to play it now, and you can listen to that, and then I will go into it when it's over.
Commander Zavala, I thought to contact you directly, free from the prying interests of advisors. When I was a child, listening to stories of the Cabal's many rulers, I imagined that sovereignty was absolute power. The power to triumph, to spill blood, to rule. But now I realize the ironic truth. Sovereignty is a form of servitude. As Empress, my people's will comes before my own. That is why Cabal forces cannot leave the Sol system empty-handed. After losing Torobatl, we cannot lose our honor. It's the only thing we have left. You offer an alliance as equals, but I offer something even more valuable. Exaltation. Within our ranks, the Guardians will be revered. They will be free, as the Scions are now. They will be our most elite force, the pride of the Cabal Empire. So, for the last time, join us. For revenge against the Hive. For survival against the Darkness. Join me. Join the Cabal.
So yeah, I found that voicemail to be kind of sad and kind of made me feel for Caiatl. She's talking about how the Cabal have lost their entire home system. Torbottle, I don't know how to pronounce it. She just said it, but because of Xivu Arath just sort of ravaged the entire system. I think that was kind of papered over in the lore of last season, but like Xivu Arath did a huge number on the Cabal homeworld, and so she's come to Sol and she's like, I can't leave Sol with nothing. Like, we need some sort of victory here for my people, like for our honor. Evie's creeping in because it's story time for the Cabal. Never mind. Okay. So she's arrived and she wants like something for her trouble, and she doesn't really understand like why we're bucking at the opportunity she's presenting to us. And this isn't like, I don't think this is like a cultural, I do think this is like a cultural difference. I don't think this is like her trying to just utterly dominate us and humiliate us and stuff. In Cabal culture, like her saying that she wants to exalt us and like adopt us into like the Cabal war family is like the highest honor that they can do. And Caiatl is kind of a good empress, because in the lore, like in the past, the Cabal race enslaved the Scions. That was a different race. All the little dudes with their snipers and stuff. That was an entirely separate race that they enslaved. Caiatl, when she became empress, freed them, and so they're still part of the Cabal empire, but they're not slaves anymore. They're freed, and they're they have their own society and all this stuff, and they serve as snipers mostly. But she's saying that like the deal she would make with Zavala would adopt Guardians into her force, and we would be like her most elite soldiers. We would be like the highest, and like for the Cabal, that's like the highest honor you can imagine. So it's sort of like offensive. We're turning it down. Whereas obviously, being human or exo or awoken, it still seems like we would be under someone's boots, and we'd have to bend the knee, and that's like humanity's not going to like serve the Cabal even if it's a position of honor, and so that's why Zavala is obviously going to turn that down. But her reasoning for why we should be in this alliance together is pretty clear. Like, we both are very much allied against Xivu Arath, and by proxy Savathun. The darkness just deleted 4 of our worlds or moons and things, along with some of the remaining people on them, and they clearly represent some sort of threat. And Evie, no horn, it's too loud. It's not the toy for the video, okay. Evie, the permanent distraction. So it's just not. It makes sense that we would want to join forces with the Cabal, and fundamentally, I think this is where we're going this season. The Battlegrounds events are not like the Cabal declaring war on us. Like, pretty much all the Battlegrounds we've stumbled across are the Cabal like going to pillage the Vex, or like the Cabal are going to go wipe out the Hive for revenge. Like, the Cabal are not attacking us, but we're going in there and sort of trolling them and killing their potential war council people, so they don't promote a bunch of Red War legionaries to become part of Caiatl's war council. Granted, she offered us that spot, so we're just kind of screwing her over twice, but I have to believe that we will end up coming to some sort of arrangement with Caiatl where she swallows her pride and sees us as equals. Not most Cabal wouldn't do that, but Caiatl seems like a very different type of Cabal, where she is more open to things like that, and she would be, right now she's like, she doesn't get it, and like she doesn't understand why we wouldn't bend the knee. I have a feeling there will be plenty more conflict as the season unfolds, and things might get worse before they get better. I have not gone into the data mines or anything, but clearly we're going to be fighting the Cabal all season, and if there is a resolution for this, it wouldn't happen until the very end. So we'll see how this develops. And like, she did say in this message, like, this is your last chance, like, join the Cabal, like, with a kind of implied threat there. So we'll see what happens. But fundamentally, like, I don't think this is going to end with us killing Caiatl. Like, in a month, we might have that strike. Caiatl might be the strike boss there. We might shoot her and disable her or something, but I don't think we're going to just murder Caiatl at the end of this. I think she will be a character that we need to have an alliance with in the future. And then when you add her to Mithrax and House Light, then we have fallen enemies there, or fallen allies there. So we have at least 2 races that can potentially team up against the Hive for the Witch Queen expansion and the Darkness. And whenever, no one's ever going to have an alliance with the Vex, because they're just robots who sort of do whatever they want and are timeless and immortal. And how are you going to ally with the Vex? And then the Scorn are just sort of mindless monsters that are busy hanging out in spooky ships. So there's no point, forming an alliance with the Scorn. That's where I think things are going. I really like Caiatl. I think she's a cool character, even if we've only had just not that much dialogue from her. I understand kind of where she's coming from, and I think it's an interesting presentation of a villain that we haven't really seen before. We kind of started on this train with Aramis, but this is a different level, kind of past that, and I believe that Caiatl will stick around for a good amount of time. I wouldn't expect to see her in the tower anytime soon, but I do think that we are going to have to form an alliance with her eventually. Then I don't know what's going to happen the next 2 seasons before Witch Queen, but I bet she will be involved in some capacity. So, yep, that's all I got to say on Caiatl. We'll see what else develops over the course of the season with her, and maybe she's just truly wicked and evil and will prove me wrong, and Evie's peacing out, so I guess it's time to go. But, alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.